The markets are pumping. Bitcoin is close or has reached 100K. Gary Gensler has resigned. And finally, Ethereum is pumping as optimism has been breaking out. Well, I'm talking about a flash crash, and that might be happening. Let's discuss all these topics in this video. Let's get started. Don't worry, we'll be back shortly, but as you know, I'm a full-time trader and investor, and I think that we are at the start of a big bull cycle, which means that if I'll be a trader, I'd like to have a lot of functionalities into one platform, which are deep liquidity, proof of reserves, the ability to trade on DEXs, a ton of altcoins, and actual support when I need it when I transfer assets. In my opinion, through all these variables, you will build trust and you've got the ability to be the best platform out there. That's why we have partnered with OKX, because we believe that OKX has everything. The good part is it's fully available in the Netherlands. So you can trade all those altcoins, you can go to DEXs, you can do it all in the Netherlands. And additionally to that, we've got a slight promo, which means that if you're going to deposit 100 euros and hold it for 7 days, you're getting 20 euros in deposit bonus and an additional 20 euros in Bitcoin. And this can run up to 270 euros of free money. On top of that, OKX has lowered their trading fees to ensure a smooth experience. On Bitvavo, the maker fee is 0.15% and taker fee 0.25%. With OKX, you will get a maker fee of 0.08% and taker fee of 0.10%. In that way, you will get a strong deposit bonus and you will get lower fees. Go to okx.com/join/newerafinance and sign up your account there. It takes 1 minute. The KYC is super smooth. So go towards okx.com/join/newerafinance. And the good part is, if you don't like it, you can just take your money away to your old exchange. Let's go back to the conversation. The market sentiment is absolutely great at this point. It's slowly rotating from meme coins back into utility coins, as we saw that the Ethereum ecosystem is waking up, but we also saw XRP doing really well, and some meme coins are still great. So it's getting into the bull market vibes, and I think there's one thing that actually showed why we are changing the current momentum, and that is ETH. As you know, I'm a pretty big Ethereum bull, and Ethereum doing absolutely terrible in the previous period wasn't great to experience, but it's shown a bounce, and it's a good first sign. And I think the first sign is not really coming from ETH, but it's coming from the entire ecosystem, which in this case is Optimism and Arbitrum. Ethereum against Bitcoin has shown a bounce, and it is showing a massive bullish daily divergence, which we see on the chart itself, but it's not confirmed yet. But in the coming few weeks, we might be confirming this. And once that happens, that's probably going to be the kickoff where the altcoins are really going to do well. And when we talk about those altcoins, we need to look at the layer 2s, and you need to assure yourself that when it comes to ETH in itself, most likely the layer 2s are mostly being used and then Ethereum follows through. So if Ethereum is going to do well, it's very likely to see that layer 2s have a higher beta, hence they are going to provide a higher yield in terms of investing. And in the previous week, we've experienced a 20 and even close to 40% day on Optimism that finally broke out, and also Arbitrum is finally breaking through, which shows that the trend has switched on those utility coins or on those layer 2s. On top of that, it was on the day that Gary Gensler announced that he's going to resign on the 20th of January, which is the day that Donald Trump is getting into the office, into the White House. So we're getting rid of the biggest, well, I would say, hurdle that we had in the previous 4 years when it comes to crypto. And it's very likely to be expected that Donald Trump is going to put someone in that seat that is going to be positive and progressive for crypto. Now, in the same time, we also have Michael Saylor, which is going bananas. He wants to keep adding funds or actually Bitcoin to his balance sheet. So he is again looking for another 3 billion in USD, or actually finalize that, to buy more Bitcoin. And I think that's a great example of what can be achieved when you are using hard money. Also, Jack Mallers was saying during Bitcoin Amsterdam that everything that he does within the company needs to yield a higher return than Bitcoin does on a yearly basis, and Bitcoin is providing a 63% return on a yearly basis. So I think that's a very interesting angle of going into entrepreneurship or working with fiat and Bitcoin. And I think stacking up your Bitcoin is going to imply that supply shock that we are looking for. Hence why we see that Bitcoin is about to hit, or has hit, 100K. Between shooting this video and posting it, there's like 1.5 days in between. But there's also a concern when it comes to Michael Saylor. If, for instance, we break through 100K and the peak is going to be 300K, it's very likely that at some point in time, in 2 years or 3 years, Bitcoin is going to drop beneath the current price. So you need to assure yourself that in a bull cycle, prices are going through the roof and are hitting levels we have not seen before, but they will come back to some numbers at a later stage that are likely comparable to the current price levels of some of those assets. So for instance, for Bitcoin, if we, as I said, if we reach 300K and we have to stand at 80% correction, we reach 60K again. I expect Bitcoin to go higher, but it's a concern for Michael Saylor that if he keeps on stacking the Bitcoin, his average will be higher and higher and higher. And that might be a problem for him going down the line if his average price is going to be 150K, for instance, that he might be underwater at a later stage. Now, what are the key events that we're looking at in the upcoming period? Well, to be honest, there's not much. We are in the final stage of the year. The inflow in the ETF keeps on being super positive, but there are some key events that we're looking for, and I think they are the final stage of this year, which is the first week of December is going to be labor market week. Unemployment data, ADP data, unemployment claims, and job openings are going to be presented. And if you recall from the first week of November, we have experienced a absolutely disastrous data for the labor markets. And that signaled that the economy is getting weaker. The likelihood of another bad data point to happen is significantly large, but it's not getting priced in. And if that happens and the labor markets are even more slowing down, it is expected that the Fed, during its meeting in December, is going to do another rate cut, and the markets are likely going to price in more rate cuts. And if that happens, the yields on government bonds are going to go down, which is positive for the government, but it's also good for Ethereum DeFi. So I think that those things, again, similarly to 2020, if the world is getting worse, crypto is getting better. Now, if you're trading the markets, then you've also seen that I've stated something about flash crashes. I wanted to use a topic in this video to discuss what I see during those flash crashes and why these are important. So let's move next to that topic. What do I mean by a flash crash? I get the feeling that some people are really like, whoa, this is going to be capitulation. It's not. It's actually just a reset of the markets. And in this part, I'll be discussing what I actually mean with that statement. And before I am going to discuss that, I also wanted to briefly touch upon a different topic, which is altcoins in general. If you're looking at XRP, for instance, at this point, first of all, congratulations if you have been holding it. It's great that you're making some momentum right now with your position. If you're looking at the BTC valuation, then going back to, let's say, 2018 bear market low, you're still on the water. But, I mean, against the USD, it's doing great. And what I just wanted to say is that during periods of a flash crash, in general, the volatility is increasing. And when the volatility increases and when the hype increases, there's more positioning. So there are more leverage positions, there's more liquidity being added, more people feel confident by having positions into altcoins and into Bitcoin. And those flash crashes are technically a reset of the markets, which if you look at XRP, for instance, I wouldn't be jumping into a position at this point yet. But if a flash crash happens when altcoins drop significantly, that will be the trigger to get into them. And I've provided a few examples of Bitcoin where a potential flash crash might be happening, or it's just showing a reset. So here you have multiple days. This was in the previous run in December 2023. Here you have multiple examples of Bitcoin dropping by more than 5% in a single day. So there was an 8% correction taking place here on the 11th of December. There was another big correction taking place here and another big correction taking place here. As you can see, first we take the liquidity above the high. As you can see here as well, we broke above this high, and then you slam dunk downwards again, which means that you take the liquidity on the downside. So what I mean by a flash crash is you have a wick up, shorts are getting liquidated, that liquidity is being used to open up new shorts, markets reverse and take all the liquidity beneath the lows. And that's when it starts to escalate, and that's when it starts to become very painful for portfolios, where Bitcoin drops 8%, doesn't change any trend, but altcoins might drop by 20 to 30% as well. And if you go to the previous period, we've had some of those flash crashes taking place during the range here as well. And I think that if you look at this chart for Bitcoin, it is very likely that we're going to be expecting to see the exact same taking place here, where we are going to be rotating towards some downwards momentum. Now, why is this important to take into consideration? Well, if you are not positioned, then those flash crashes are usually a moment to step into trending altcoins. Trending altcoins are usually seeing a very painful sell-off during this period, as they are very leveraged and have a lot of liquidity in there. However, once Bitcoin does one of those flash crashes, that's usually the moment where altcoins are starting to kick off their actual momentum. As you can see here, I've got another chart popping up, which is Ethereum against Bitcoin. Once these top broke in during December of 2023 and this flash crash took place, that was the moment where Ethereum against Bitcoin shot off. But if we're looking at a different example, for instance, Optimism against USDT in this case, you can see that we were slowly grinding up with Optimism against USDT. And during those first crashes, we had a drop-off taking place there too. During this crash, we had a drop-off taking place. During this crash, we had a drop-off taking place. So that's the moment to get into your position if you don't have any position yet. But during the period of consolidation for Bitcoin, that's the moment where altcoins are starting to show that actual fireworks and start to show their momentum. So a flash crash is just a reset of the markets where liquidity is being grabbed on the downside of the current trend, which means that I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin, whether it's at 100K or 110K or 120K, is going to have a standard 10% correction within a day where altcoins are dropping 20 to 40%. For me, that's the moment to get into some positions. But for you, if you don't have any positions, you shouldn't be selling during those crashes. You should be adding during those crashes. And from that point on, the altcoins are likely going to continue moving. Market volatility is going through the roof, and we're likely going to get those flash crashes, but they are super hard to time. I stated that topic on Wednesday of this week, and I said, well, it might be possible that we're going to get those, but we don't know when. And in between, you can see altcoins starting to fire off. So in between, we've seen Optimism bouncing or rallying by 40%, XRP making new highs, Arbitrum breaking up by 20 to 30%. So it's super hard to time those flash crashes. And when I convert that into my strategy, I've got my swing trading altcoin portfolios set since this summer. And finally, I'm getting back into the stages where I'm starting to feel quite confident about the positions. I'm happy with my thesis. I've got optimism in my portfolio, so that's great too. And I'm not looking to sell those. But at some point, once we get higher and higher and higher, and the leverage is going to increase, I want to start scaling off towards Bitcoin and ETH and use those flash crashes to get back into my optimism position. And on top of that, I'm trading as well. I'm a day trader, which means that if those flash crashes happen, where altcoins are dropping significantly or when ETH is going to drop by 10 to 20%, those are going to be the moments where I either open futures positions to increase my profits, or I'll be opening up options positions where I think that I'll be making a lot of money through those, which I start to find very interesting. So as a conclusion, flash crashes happen, volatility in crypto increases, that's part of the bull cycle. Don't chase your FOMO, just be calm, hold your positions and buy the dips when you have the ability to do so. Thank you very much for watching to this update on Tuesday. A new episode of the New Era Finance podcast is going to be live with Arno Wellens. 2 hours about banks, CBDCs, jokes, and more will be discussed on this channel, on a different channel actually. Make sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel, and I'll see you again on Thursday for a new altcoin update. Ciao!